Hello, I'm Shawna Robbins, founder and CEO of Third Spark, and today I am meeting with Elizabeth Ward, and we are going to be doing an Authority Magazine interview, and we are going to be discussing thriving through menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause, what women can do to really improve this menopause journey for themselves. So Elizabeth Ward is a registered dietitian and nutritionist, an award-winning nutrition communicator who specializes in women's health and nutritional issues. She's the co-author of the Menopause Diet Plan, a natural guide for managing hormones, health, and happiness, and the author of several other books, including Expect the Best, Your Guide to Healthy Eating Before, During, and After Pregnancy. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining me today. So let's dive into what women can expect as far as dietary changes that they can make to help reduce their symptoms like hot flashes and night sweats and, some of the key signs of menopause that they might be dealing with.
Well, I think it's safe to say that most women will need to make changes once they approach the perimenopausal part of their lives. And that's because of the different hormonal changes that are happening, which affect all parts of the body. So in changing their lifestyle, in changing their diet, what they can do is help to kind of mitigate or not ward off all the symptoms, but what they can do is help ease the symptoms. And there are so many different changes that may need to be made, but I don't want to overwhelm women in saying, you have to completely overhaul your diet. But I think it's for sure that if you don't make some changes, then you probably will have worse symptoms.
So give me an idea of what you would recommend if a client came to you and she was dealing with having hot flashes and night sweats and, HRT was maybe not an option for her or she was unsure about it. How would you help her? What type of dietary changes could she look to make that might be helpful?
Well, hot flashes and night sweats are definitely one of the main symptoms and main complaints, if you will, of women going through the perimenopause change. And if you can't take hormone replacement therapy, and I never did, so it's not right for everybody, and you don't have to take it. But even if you did, you would still need to make these changes because no drug is an island. It doesn't solve every single problem. So you have to work with the medication. So let's say you're not taking the medication, or even if you are, what I would suggest is weight control, because overweight and obesity have been linked to worse hot flashes and, ones that last for a longer duration during the perimenopause period. Also, some women are triggered by caffeine, excess caffeine, and excess alcohol. And again, that's tremendously personal. Now, on the subject of soy, which a lot of women, ask me about, does soy, do the phytoestrogens that are in soy act like the estrogen in your body and help to reduce your hot flashes? In some women, yes. Not all women respond to soy in the same way. So we're not there yet on the research. However, if you eat soy every day, 1 or 2 servings, let's say, and it's working for you, more power to you. I mean, that's great. That means that you may be responding.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, so let's talk about forms of soy that they can use. I mean, I know for me, making sure that it's GMO free and making sure that it's organic is really important to me. But can you talk about, I know it comes in different forms like edamame versus tempeh. What do you recommend as far as the best soy for women at this stage in the game to be eating?
Well, I recommend whole foods, anything that's a whole food. It doesn't mean that you can't use soy protein powder in order to, let's say, get some more protein into your diet, which is also important. And I'm sure we're going to be talking about that. But I prefer tofu, tempeh, edamame, unsweetened fortified soy milk. So, not the bars so much, not the powders so much, because I think the research is mainly based on eating, enough soy foods.
Got it. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of fiber also in like edamame for sure. Then women tends to be a little bit low on fiber at
Oh
this
my
stage in the
gosh.
game.
The whole entire American population is low on fiber, and fiber is actually so important. And it is linked to, better control of belly fat, which is one of the things that women often, find that they're getting more of during the perimenopausal stage.
Yeah, that was my next question for you. What advice do you have for women that are starting to see weight changes, right? A distribution difference in their weight around the belly, around the hips and thighs. It seems to sort of be somewhat universal at this stage in the game for women. So what advice do you have for them as far as dietary changes or lifestyle changes that they can use?
It does seem universal, doesn't it? It's crazy. Nobody knows why. The experts do not know why this happens, but we do know that as estrogen levels drop, the propensity for extra fat to gather in the abdomen goes up. So there's a direct relationship there. Now, one thing I need to say right off the bat is this fat, which is mostly visceral fat, is not any harder to lose than the other type of fat, which is subcutaneous fat, which is on like your thighs and your bum and your hips. And I think that's one of the myths that's out on the internet, that's being, perpetuated. So it's no harder to lose. You lose it the same way you lose subcutaneous fat. And that's to really take a hard look at the number of calories that you're eating, because you're also getting older at the same time you're going through perimenopause. So perimenopause lasts between 4 and 10 years. Well, you're 10 years older by the time perhaps you get to the end of it. And that aging process also affects your metabolism. And I think as we get older, a lot of us are no longer chasing around little kids. We may not be doing as much housework because maybe we got a job, because the kids are older and we're sitting more. You really have to think about how much physical activity you're doing every day, and how many calories you're eating. And I'm telling you from experience, I'm a dietitian, and I thought that I would escape this, part of perimenopause. I did not. I gained almost 10 pounds. And what I had to do with myself was say, okay, what are you doing here? Let's take a look so we can get back into balance. Did I lose all 10 pounds? No, I have not lost all 10 pounds, because for me to do that I'd probably have to really restrict my calories to the point where it would be unhealthy. So you have to think about how to balance all that. And we talk about that a lot in our book, The Menopause Diet Plan, is how are you going to do that for yourself? And for me, it was a real reckoning. I was picking at things when I wasn't really hungry, because I could do that in my 20s and 30s and get away with it. But as I got older, I couldn't. So some of this is menopause, but a lot of it is age, and a lot of it is decreased physical activity.
So let's talk about the decreased physical activity. I know just from experience, I got myself a weighted vest that I walk with now. And so I wanted to talk to you and see what your thoughts are on the best types of exercise that women should be using at this stage in the game.
So there should be a mix of aerobic exercise. So let's say brisk walking, jogging, cycling, swimming, and weight training, for sure, because because the weight training is going to be what gives your muscles the most resistance, and it's going to help protect your muscles, preserve the muscle tissue, help build muscle tissue, and also it's very good for your bones as well. And then the aerobic activity is great for your heart. It's great for your large muscle groups. It's a great stress reducer. And I should say that both types of exercises, really, it cuts across all of them. While they work on different areas of the body, they have a really similar benefits. So, let's say you've been walking, for the last 10 years, and all of a sudden perimenopause comes along and you notice some changes in your muscles, some changes in tone. You definitely want to add resistance training, either with your own body weight, with free weights, with the gym equipment, with bands, at least twice a week, so that you can keep your posture, keep your muscles strong. You want to train for your old lady body. You want to train for what's going to come in decades ahead.
Yeah, and for me, I think what matters most is really just injury prevention. That's
Uh-huh.
really what I'm thinking about now in my 50s, is how
Mhm.
to keep myself strong and fit and be stretching and be flexible now so that I can age in a way where my knees don't hurt and my feet don't hurt and I'm not going to become frail and, have injuries as I get older.
Exactly, exactly. And I'll tell you, my mother, who died at age 92, exercised until about age 89. And she didn't do a lot of weights. She would get on the exercise bike for 20 to 30 minutes every day. And that's really all she did. But she did her own housework. She did her own shopping. She did her own yard work. So the other aspect of this is that non-exercise activity. When you go to run errands, getting out of the car instead of going through the drive-through, like anything that you can do to burn calories and to stay active is going to help you stay active for longer.
Yeah, gardening. I was reading about gardening and what a non-stressful but yet amazing activity it is. It's non-stressful on your body, on your bones, on your joints, but yet so incredibly active. You don't even realize all the ups and downs,
Yes,
carrying the soil, digging, all these things that you're doing, plus you're out in nature, which is such a benefit.
it
There's such a value to that.
it really is very
Yeah,
important to get outside if you can.
yeah,
Yeah,
I like that you bring that up about your mom. I had two grandmothers, one that lived to 96, the other one lived to 102, and both of them did the same thing, right? They
right.
were taking their own garbage cans up and down, right? They were gardening, they were pruning, they were cooking for themselves, they were still shopping, I mean, they planning meals, prepping things, using their brain, using their body. It's true that thriving through menopause is so much more than just managing the symptoms. It's this new, I call it the third spark, right? It's this extra 30 years now that we have that maybe other generations of women were unable to have. And so really trying to figure out how we can have an amazing quality of life during
I
this time.
I think I calculated what percentage of life my mother lived after menopause, and it was close to 40.
Mhm.
And I think that presenting women with that idea, like you were saying, this is another phase of your life that you should prepare for. And it's hard because as women, we're juggling so many things always, and we're like barely out of the childbearing years, and now we're going into, perimenopause. But it's a fact, and we need to deal with it as much as possible so that we can look to that last third phase and have it be active and enjoyable and relatively free of chronic conditions. That's really the goal, is to feel good. And sometimes it's hard to see that as the goal when perimenopause is filled with hot flashes and weight gain that you just can't explain and you can't get off, and mood changes, and it's tough to keep your eyes on the prize, but it does end, and there is that third phase.
Yeah, wonderful. I think that the more we embrace it, especially as a culture, menopause is going through such a rebrand right now, I call it, because it
Right.
used to be something that had a level of shame or a level of silence to it. And so now there's so many women that are speaking out and embracing it. And I call it aging authentically, whether they don't fight the gray hair or they don't fight the wrinkles or they do, it doesn't matter. It's whatever feels authentic to you.
Right.
That's what matters, and I think you touched on that when you mentioned that you didn't use hormone replacement. Some people opt to, some people don't. It's all okay. It's
Mhm.
whatever feels right to you to do.
Right. And what's right for you medically too, because some women cannot use hormone replacement therapy.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course. So let's get back to talk about diet. I know that diet is such an amazing thing, and your book offers so many great tips for women. So give us kind of the rundown of what you think are the five things that that women should eat, women should focus on, different dietary and lifestyle changes that they can make.
Okay, so if I was doing a checkup on someone's diet or woman's diet that was in perimenopause, I would look at, first of all, the calories. We talked about that, but also how much protein she's eating. It's very, very important to get enough protein. And women are notoriously bad. I've counseled women for 30 years, and I can't even tell you how awful the protein intake can be. It's even more important after the age of 50. Although, perimenopause can occur earlier than that, but after the age of 50, it gets harder for your body to process the protein, so you want to give it more. I would also look at how many carbs they were having. Carbs get such a bad rap, and that you need them. You need them in order to make muscle. You need them. So it has to be the best type of carbs. Let's say the more complex kind, and the foods that also offer fiber in them. Rather than the candy and the cookies and things like that. So I would take a look at that. Of course, making sure that they had a lot of healthy fat in there and making sure it was all balanced. And then I would also take a look at, the minerals and the vitamins that they were probably getting, making sure that they were getting enough calcium and vitamin D and also magnesium and also fiber. Fiber is a biggie. I mentioned it earlier as being related to belly fat, control or loss. It's related to so many other things. Fiber helps to feed the healthy gut bacteria that keep your gut, in shape, but also affect your entire body. So we're really failing there as a country. It's not just perimenopausal women, but we're awful with our fiber intake. So really looking to add more plant foods wherever possible. But again, always thinking about balance, always thinking about what, this particular woman wants to do, is capable of doing, given her time constraints, given her budget, given her situation. So it's not a one size fits all, but there are definitely some commonalities, across the board.
So give me your top fiber foods, for example.
Oh my gosh. I just wrote an article about this, so I have it right in the top of my head.
Perfect.
Most definitely beans. I can't say enough about beans. And you don't have to buy them dried and then soak them and things like buy canned beans, rinse them, you're done.
So you have a favorite type of bean or just all beans in general? Are they all created equal?
Pretty much are from a fiber standpoint. Some have a slightly more fiber than others, but I think that's nitpicking, and I wouldn't say one's any better. I would have to say chickpeas are my favorite. I think, for me, I use them the most often, but I do love black beans. I love them all. I mean, never met a bean I did not like. Okay, so beans as a category, raspberries, probably the highest fiber fruit that you can eat. So things like lentils also are very high in fiber. Let me see, that's 3. Oatmeal, whole grain breads, cereals, rice, pasta. That would be brown rice, I should say. And, just about any fruit or vegetable, broccoli, cauliflower. It's really all about getting enough plant foods in. And, we need to eat at least 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. And beans are a vegetable, by the way. And if you look at it that way, and you focus on whole grains, you pretty much get the fiber you need without racking your brain too hard about how much does this have and how much does that have.
My favorite fiber fruit, actually, I was hoping you were going to mention it, is avocados.
Oh,
people don't realize how much fiber is in avocados, and then you get the healthy fat plus you get the fiber, and
delicious.
They're amazing.
And you get them. I mean, you live in California, so you get the best avocados, I'm sure.
I definitely have an avocado addiction for sure. There's no doubt. But I did learn that about raspberries, and I started keeping them in the freezer now. So I buy them when they're not in season, so that I can add them to smoothies or Greek yogurt or chia seed pudding or whatever it is that I'm having. But yeah, that's a great tip for women.
They're really good for your brain too. They are a brain food, and so are wild blueberries. I don't mean to diss regular blueberries. I grow them. I grow regular blueberries, but you can buy frozen wild blueberries, and I keep them in the freezer all year long to do exactly the same as you said that you do.
Yeah, that's another great tip. I appreciate that. Wild blueberries are amazing. And being in California, we don't really grow them here where we
No,
get avocados. So to keep them in the freezer, yeah, and they're smaller and they're a little more tart and they are really incredible for your brain.
they
So I think,
are.
yeah,
We grow them around here, so we'll send you some.
lucky. I'll bring you some avocados. All right, so
Yeah.
let's talk about bone health now. I'm really curious as far as, when women talk about, aging issues, one of the biggest things that we face as we age is osteoporosis and osteopenia. So can you give us some tips to, dietary wise to really help ourselves when it comes to fortifying our bones?
The thing about bone health is it's way more complex than just getting enough calcium and vitamin D, which is, absolutely at the top of the list. Women need 1,200 milligrams of calcium after the age of 51, and they need 600 international units or 15 micrograms of vitamin D every day until age 70, when that also goes up. It's really multifactorial. So you get those two things. You need enough protein for your bones. So skimping on protein is going to hurt them. You need phytonutrients that are found in plant foods, which we just talked about. So we've kind of covered that, but phytonutrients are anti-inflammatory compounds found in plant foods. And a lot of the loss that goes on in bones is due to inflammation. So we want to really be eating an anti-inflammatory diet for a lot of reasons. So that's one thing. Magnesium is very important as well. Although it's touted, in the menopause kind of internet community as being, the nutrient. It's no miracle nutrient, but it's incredibly important for your bones. And I know this doesn't have to do anything with nutrition, but really getting that resistance training in and getting that aerobic training that, really challenges your bones and challenges your muscle is going to keep your bone mass up. On the other hand, things like smoking is going to be bad for your bones. And we're not quite sure about alcohol intake, but it's just something to throw out there that it may affect bone health.
Okay. That's wonderful. Thank you. So tell me how people can connect with you. Can you talk a little bit about your books and about your
Sure.
practice and how they can find you and connect with you?
Sure. Well, the books are online. They're everywhere on online booksellers, and I am on Instagram and on Facebook at Menopause Diet Plan. So come and visit me there. We'd love to have you in the community. We have a lot of fun and we do a lot of informative posts. Me and my co-author, Hillary Wright, who's also a registered dietitian and my best friend from college. So we have a long history together and we have a lot of fun. So I hope that you'll join us there.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you coming on and giving us more information about the things that we can do to thrive during menopause. I know that I learned a lot, and I hope that others watching this did as well.
Well, thank you for having me.